George Gershwin, an extraordinary musician with one of the most interesting stories of the jazz age. From a childhood as the son of European Jewish immigrants in Harlem to Beverly Hills, George boasts a rather extreme success story. As an American composer and pianist, George produced a number of works over his lifetime that have withstood the test of time.
Jacob George Gershwin was born September 26, 1896, in Brooklyn, New York, to traveling businessman Morris Gershwin and his wife, Rose. Growing up, Gershwin was more interested in athletics than anything else.
As a child standing on the streets of Harlem in 1904, George heard Anton Rubinstein's Melody in F on a player piano and loved the sound of it. 6 years later, when the Gershwins bought a piano, intending it for George's brother Ira, George sat down and immediately began playing it. Soon, it became clear to his parents that George would be the musician, and lessons were arranged with neighborhood instructors. Notably, in 1912, he began studying with piano composer Charles Hamitzer, who recognized young George's gift immediately. Although George gravitated towards more contemporary styles, particularly jazz, his teacher ensured that George was also familiar with the classics, including Chopin, Liszt, and Debussy, among others.
Following a year and a half of instruction at the High School of Commerce in New York, George dropped out for a job as a song plugger or promoter for Jerome H. Remick & Co., a Tin Pan Alley music publisher. George promoted the company's music by playing and singing songs for performers. The job was an excellent introduction into the music industry as it gave George insight on what it took to become a great songsmith of the day and not merely a hack.
In 1917, George left Renwick to work on Broadway as a rehearsal pianist. By 1918, he'd published a handful of songs in collaboration with his brother Ira as his lyricist. The same year, Max Dreyfus, head of Harm's Publishing, hired George to compose exclusively for his company. His first big hit, Swanee, was introduced in the musical Sinbad and established his reputation as a distinguished composer. In the same year, George's first musical, La La Lucille, was performed over 100 times as his career gained momentum.
In 1922, George followed up with Blue Monday, a jazz opera that attracted the attention of well-known jazz orchestra leader Paul Whiteman. As a result, Whiteman invited him to contribute a piece for a concert of modern music at New York's Aeolian Hall. George, in only 3 weeks, managed to orchestrate the jazz concerto Rhapsody in Blue, which undoubtedly became his most notable success. George became instantly famous for his combination of jazz techniques with classical music.
Throughout the Roaring 20s into the 30s, George, collaborating more than ever with Ira, continued writing hit musicals and making stars of their performers. With each composition, George demonstrated advancements in technical skill and artist maturity. According to critics, Gershwin was a brilliant pianist and excelled in rhythm and harmony. Furthermore, Lower Moreland High School choir director Chelsea Diener voices another common assertion.
As a musician, Gershwin really had a brilliant sense of harmony and rhythm. He was an extraordinary piano player, and this is what really was the secret to his success as a composer.
Music critics also add that George's musical style was helped immeasurably by his brother's witty and sophisticated lyrics, which commentary contributor William G. Hyland described as containing whimsy, depth, and unexpected juxtapositions of the sublime and the mundane.
In person, George's brother Ira described George as being a great deal like his music.
Vibrant, dynamic, and honest, and, if I may, charming. He was full of life and lived a full day. Although most of it was devoted to the piano and his music, it was a continual source of amazement to me that he found time to engage in so many other activities. He was a fine painter, a good golfer, a discerning and courageous art collector, an excellent photographer, a wonderful dancer, whether at a ballroom or taking a moment out of his show rehearsal to break into a tap dance. And socially, he was one of the most sought-after young men in New York, or whatever city he happened to be in. George moved fast, lived fast, studied hard, and learned fast.
George succeeded Rhapsody in Blue with numerous other compositions, many of which were featured as musicals, including Lady, Be Good, Tell Me More, and Treasure Girl. Of Thee I Sing, another musical from the 30s, won the first Pulitzer Prize for a musical. George and Ira continued to collaborate, and many of their best works resulted from their partnership.
In 1937, while working on the Goldwyn Follies in Los Angeles, George began exhibiting strange symptoms and behavior. He'd stumble in performances, lose his coordination, and endure severe headaches. Many of the people around him, doctors included, believed his condition was an emotional response to stress, perhaps of working in Hollywood. Unfortunately, they were wrong. On July 9, 1937, George fell well into a coma. He died following an unsuccessful operation, attempting to remove an undiagnosed brain tumor at the age of 38. George was buried at Mount Hope Cemetery, Hastings-on-Hudson, New York.
Following George's death, Warner Brothers already began planning a memorial film, among the others in the film industry producing works in George's memory. Several movies feature his music, and his compositions remain showcased around the world. Porgy and Bess, even though accepted with only moderate enthusiasm when first created, witnessed countless revivals during the mid-50s. This is Gershwin's legacy, states Crawford, writing for the Grove Music Online. Gershwin remains one of the most significant creative figures and one of the most potent influences that American music has produced.